They haven't given me an age where they'll be like, right, it's from 21, that's it. But her life is limited.
It's a well-known fact that motherhood and parenting in general can be extremely demanding. But if you're a single mom and your child has complex additional needs, then motherhood involves navigating a very unique set of physical, emotional, and logistical challenges. And my guest in this episode will be giving me an insight into those challenges and telling me a bit about Prune 1, which is a rare genetic syndrome that her daughter is living with. If you've just tuned in, this is a lifestyle prescription. I'm Rena Annobil, and my guest in the studio is businesswoman, makeup artist, and mother Paven. Hello, lovely.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's so good to have you here. I'm so glad that we're sitting down to have this conversation. So, Pavan, you share a lot about your life as a mom of a daughter with a lot of additional needs, and you've chosen to speak about this on social media. You have your blog as well, so you document a lot of your life in that. And I want to kind of get into the reasons that you chose to share all that, and also just life for you and your daughter as well. But first, just tell me a little bit about your daughter.
So I have a 15-year-old daughter. Her name is Amber. And as you mentioned, she has a very rare genetic disorder called Prune 1 syndrome, which is a relatively new disorder. So there's very minimal research that's actually been done on it. And actually 5 years ago, when she was diagnosed, there was even little research. Now, with that condition, because it's a neurological condition, it does mean that she has other issues which can present as quadriplegic cerebral palsy, which means that all four of her limbs unfortunately don't work. She is peg fed, she is short-sighted, and she has severe cognitive delays.
Right.
So, her whole motor system is delayed as well.
Right.
So due to that syndrome, there are quite a few things that Amber has issues with, and she is quite severely medically complex.
Okay, so she does have therefore a lot of different additional needs.
She does.
Okay, all right. So I want to just go back to, when you gave birth to her, right? So obviously, exciting time, you've had a baby and everything. Were there any signs that there might be an issue with her health while you were pregnant or just after you given birth? Like, when did you realize that things are not as they should be?
So I had the most wonderful pregnancy. When I found out, it was October 2009. I found out I was about 4 weeks pregnant, and my whole world just lit up. I wanted to become a mum. I always envisioned, 3 or 4 children, sending them to university, and just creating a really stable environment from them, because I myself, my parents are divorced, and going forward, I didn't want to give that to my children. So I had certain dreams and aspirations. So when I found out I was expecting, I was just over the moon. I had a brilliant pregnancy. I mean, apart from the usual morning sickness, I carried her to 37 weeks. I had no complications. It was a normal labor. And even when she was born, she was just, this was like my dream was placed into my arms. She was exactly what I thought she would be.
Yeah.
She looked up at me, and she was hungry and everything. She cried, the normal baby cry. Everything was normal. And then it was around the 3-month mark that I realized something was wrong with my child. And it was a real motherly instinct, because I just felt it. I felt it in my bones. I just knew something wasn't right, because she wasn't fixing and following. She wasn't attempting to hold her head up. The usual things children do or babies do. She wasn't doing that. And I flagged it very quickly with my GP. And I was told at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, no, it's fine. She's maybe just slightly delayed, and you just need to wait until she meets her milestones. But I just knew something was wrong, and actually wasn't being listened to until just before her first birthday, where we saw a pediatric consultant. And that consultant, one conversation completely changed my life. When she said to me, there is something wrong with your child, And if you're planning to have any more children, I wouldn't. And your child is going to have some long-term disabilities. And my whole world just came crumbling down because I knew there was something wrong, but I wasn't being listened to. And then having been told everything I kind of already knew, to hear it was just life-changing.
But 9 months of just being dismissed is a long time.
It's a very long time.
In the first year of a baby, those developmental milestones and stuff, they happen in the first year, right? That's a long time to not be listened to.
It is, because you're not only dealing with, actually, there might be something wrong with my child. I was going through my own postnatal stuff. I'm 26. I've just had a baby. I live in an extended family. I have responsibilities towards my in-laws. I also have a child that something's just not right. So I was trying to manage my own emotions whilst trying to be an advocate for her. And it was really tough. It was really tough.
I can imagine how difficult that was then when you got that news. But then when did they then say, this is Prune 1? Because, you know, before coming to this conversation, obviously I've done my research and everything. And then I tried to do research about Prune 1. And there actually isn't that much.
There isn't.
I was really shocked because I'm quite thorough in looking at these things, right? And I was like, where is the information?
There isn't. There's hardly any information. And this next thing's going to shock you, I think. Amber wasn't diagnosed until she was 10 and a half years old. So for 10 and a half years, I lived with a child who was labelled as a child with developmental delay, which is a really broad...
Yes, that is.
It's a really broad spectrum. And yes, she's delayed mentally, physically. She was delayed. I knew that. And it was a constant battle. It's a constant fight. I was constantly talking to her consultant. Something's not right. We need to test for this. We need to test for that. And they did test for it, but nothing was coming back. Nothing was coming back until we did a genetics test, which then showed that she had a condition called Prune 1 syndrome, which affects the nerve endings in the central part of your brain.
How rare is this? Because I know it is quite rare, isn't it?
It's very rare. I think 1 in 50,000.
Okay, that's what you were told.
50,000. Right. That's what I was told.
Uh-huh.
But even then, you know, the consultants were saying this is a really new diagnosis. We don't really have much information. So what they did tell me was, we're going to treat her with as she's got cerebral palsy, because she does have a lot of the conditions that a child that has cerebral palsy has. And because it's a neurological disorder, the part of the brain that doesn't work is the part that controls speech, movement, her eyesight. So, you know, but if you were to sit with Amber and have a conversation with her, understanding wise, she understands everything.
Right.
You can say to Amber, would you like to go outside? No. Would you like to have a drink? She'll smile. So she can understand everything.
Right.
But it's a matter of getting it out. She can't get it out.
So she's completely nonverbal.
Completely nonverbal.
Right. How do you then know what she wants? Because obviously, like you said, she can understand. You can ask her questions and things like that. Can she make her wants and needs known to you? Is there a way, like, is there body language that you read? Obviously, she's your daughter. So,
yeah, I mean, I know Amber really well, and also her care team and the people that are around her have got to have spent quite a lot of time with her to understand what she wants. But through her body language, she'll completely tense up if she doesn't want anything. She's very clever because she's found another way of communicating what she needs. If she's uncomfortable in her chair, she'll start wriggling, or she'll put her arms back, or she'll look at me. But you have to be with her all the time. Amber requires 24/7 care, because if you leave her and she's trying to tell you something, you can't hear it because she can't tell you. Yeah. So you really have to be reading her body language. Sometimes she just can't get it out. So you have to ask her, Amber, are you feeling okay? What is your stomach hurting? Is your head hurting? So we have loads of visuals. She has a communication book that she uses. Right. She has an eye gaze that she uses as well. And the eye gaze is fantastic. It's a machine that is tailored to Amber's life. And she'll have a look at what she wants to go into. So it's like, right, it's lunchtime. what would you like for lunch? And she's got 6 options on there, and she'll look at what she wants, and then it speaks back to her.
Right.
So there are guides and
Yeah.
things that we do have. But unfortunately, as she's getting older, her muscle tone is becoming weaker. Her eyesight's becoming weaker, and there is generally a decline in her health, which means she's able to do less and express less.
That must be quite frustrating for her.
It is. It is,
Yeah.
of course. But we just have to make sure that we're there for her all the time and constantly reassuring Amber that, you know, we're here. You know, whatever you need, we're going to help you. We'll get you through this. And I think that's what really helps her.
When she was little, so going back to the pre-diagnosis, for pre-diagnosing her with Prune 1 syndrome, what was life like then when you weren't quite sure what it was, or you were told different things, and with the level of care that she needed? Like, well, how did you said your life changed, obviously it changed, but did you have to give up work? Like, what happened, and how did you as a family cope? You told me you were in an extended family. How did you cope at that time?
So before I got married, I got my master's. I got my degree, and then I got my master's, and I was very much focused on my career, and I really wanted to make something of myself. But the moment I had Amber, and the minute I found out that I was a medical mummy, all of those dreams, aspirations, career dreams, everything, I put them into a box and I put them away, because my priority instantly became my daughter. And she's still my priority now. That's never changed. And my life did change. It changed because it no longer became about me. It no longer became about what I wanted, and all my dreams, and my aspirations, they weren't a priority anymore. And so it had a massive effect on me mentally and emotionally. But because Amber has always been at the forefront of everything that I've done, it almost overpowered that for me. And I accepted it. I accepted that this is my reality and this is what I'm going to have to do. Because if I want to give her some sort of a quality of life, then I've really got to focus here. And obviously, I know we're going to touch on this, but I'm divorced now.
Yeah.
Her dad at the time was quite supportive, but he never accepted that he had it was very difficult for him to accept that he had a daughter with special needs. So I was very much the one saying, it's okay, we've got this, you know.
Yeah. And I if I was to put myself in your shoes and his shoes, you know, I do get it that you do have your hopes and dreams. Like, you know, you thought, okay, I'm going to have this many children, they're going to be running around playing, doing this and that. Obviously then you're like, okay, you've got to rethink everything. It's not the case. Obviously, with our community, you know, you're South Asian, I'm South Asian, and we know that there are there's different kind of ways that people look at disabilities in our community as well, isn't there? And
there is.
do you think that played a part in this as well?
Massively, because I've got to be careful what I say, and I need to. Everyone has a different way of dealing with things. And some people aren't strong enough to deal with it. Some people are realists. And I would say I'm a realist, where I have a situation in front of me and I think of a way to try to fix it or to try to deal with it, or actually to try to make the best of a bad situation. I've always been like that. But unfortunately, our community, they can be in denial. And they don't want to. There were times when members of the family used to say, there's nothing wrong with her, she's going to be fine. But yet she's sat in a wheelchair,
right,
not speaking, and unable to eat. Oh, she's fine, she'll be fine.
Are we talking a little bit about a sense of shame?
Maybe. You know, acceptance. There are stages when it comes to grief. And you don't have to grieve if somebody's passed away. You can grieve in all aspects of life. So when we did have Amber, I feel the family did grieve. And there are stages in grief. There's anger, there's acceptance, I don't think those stages they never really went through those stages.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, the blame game, well, what did you do wrong? What didn't you,
Right.
it was
Okay,
stuff
that's
like
hard.
that. And
That must have been really hard.
that was really tough. I'm not saying they weren't supportive, because actually there were times when they were really supportive. But I think having a medical child and their expectations of having a traditional daughter-in-law, I chose not to be that daughter-in-law, because I did to the best of my ability, but my priority was my daughter.
Yeah.
And there was nothing or nobody that was going to come above that for me.
You know, I've got 3 kids, right? And every single child puts additional strain on a marriage, right? Like, it's normal, and people get through it, right? People can get through it, and it's a thing where I think it's just what it is with kids. It's challenging and demanding, right? But then when you have a child with complex medical needs, right, you're grieving what you thought your kid was going to be like. And both of you are obviously, you're telling me, grieving differently, right? And coping with it differently. Then did that put the strain on your marriage, which you kind of couldn't come back from? Was it that?
There was a lot of there was a lot of strain on our marriage, because we had a child with additional needs, and I feel like it was harder for her dad to deal with that. And he just went off on a spiral, and I wish I could say more, but
It's fine.
I just feel like he just wasn't made for it. He couldn't cope with it. I don't think this is the life that he wanted, and he chose to walk away. And the part that I actually struggle with is, divorces happen, couples fall out. Whether you have a normal child or you have a disabled child or you don't have any children at all, sometimes two people are just not meant to be together, and that's okay. But my problem, or my issue and my heartbreak, and something I think I will never recover from, is the fact that he abandoned her. And he walked away from a child that actually needed him. And it wasn't just emotionally, but it was financially. He cut the cord on all levels, which for me is unforgivable and doesn't make any sense.
When did this happen? How long ago?
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So has it just been you alone with the responsibility of everything since then?
Pretty much until 2 years ago.
Right.
But when he left, Amber was in hospital with COVID, and I was told that I had 48 hours with her. And I reached out to her dad, and he didn't believe me. He said I was lying, and he said that he doesn't believe she's sick, and I just left it at that. I left it at that, and I just didn't, because we had a divorce going on, we had court proceedings going on, and for me, the most important thing was trying to get my child back. So she was in hospital. I let him do what he needed to do, but pretty much from then on, it was me. It was Amber and I against the world, and it was just. Looking back at it, I don't even know how I got through it, but I did. I did, because again, Amber remained at the forefront of everything. And I was like, I need to get this child back. I need to keep a roof over her head. I need to get that secured. And that was the only thing that I could see. I almost took my heart out of my body and left it on the side, and I just went in it with my head, because I was like, if I can't end up homeless, I've got to think of something really, really quick. I can't go out and get a job. I need to think of another stream of income. I've got to pay the mortgage. I've got to pay the bills. I've got to deal with this medical child. I've got to do it all.
Yeah, and that's a lot.
And it was a lot.
That's a lot. What support did you receive around that time, around the time of your husband leaving and you trying to do it alone?
So you know what, I'm really lucky. I would say I'm really lucky, because I have the most incredible family. And my family doesn't just stop at my mum and my brothers, but it goes to my grandfather, my nanaji, and my mum's brother.
Right.
He has been my backbone, my support, my sounding board. He's picked me up financially, emotionally. When Amber was in hospital, he was there. And I had that support. So I knew that I was never going to be in a position where I wasn't going to be okay. But equally, I knew that this was my battle and I had to go and fight it, but I knew I had that army behind me, and that really, really got me through it.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in a situation, I think having a strong support network around you is the most important thing.
Yeah, it is.
Because there's a possibility you could fall. You just need somebody to get you back up and push you. And there were moments. But that was when my mum, my brothers, her brother, her dad, the whole family almost came around me and protected me.
That's a really beautiful thing.
It was really nice. And it wasn't just the family, but it was Amber's entire medical team. The entire medical team. Wokingham Borough Council and their legal teams. Her district nurses, her consultants, her neurologist, her carers. I almost felt like in that moment I was co-parenting Amber with all these different people around me, but I just knew that I had to be the one to go and fight that battle. But I didn't feel alone.
Yeah.
And I think that was really important.
It's really good that you had that support. It really is. So talk me through a typical day in the life of you and Amber. So what does that look like?
So Amber goes to school. So, I'm so grateful that I do have that 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. slot where I'm not her mum. I can go and run around and do what I need to do during the day. But, it can be very different. 1 minute I can be getting up, getting her ready for school. Next thing you know, she's being blue lighted to Royal Berkshire Hospital because her heart rate's really high. Her oxygen levels have dropped. And so there's two extremes really, but a typical day she'd get up in the morning, she'll go to school. She's peg fed, so I need to get up an hour before to prepare her tubes, her food. All of her breakfast, lunches and dinners are cooked fresh, blended down.
So just explain for people that don't know what is peg fed.
So peg feeding is she's got a gastrostomy button in her stomach,
right?
And there is a tube. And then you have syringes. So you basically fill up the syringes with the food and then you feed directly into her stomach. She can't eat orally because she has no muscular control. The food would go down her windpipe and not her food pipe. It would sit in her lungs, cause infections. She'd end up in hospital. And it just wasn't working for her anymore.
Has that happened in the past?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is one of the reasons why she had to have the operation, because it was too dangerous to feed her orally anymore.
Right.
So now we have this gastrostomy. And for some people, it might look like, oh, my goodness me, how do you do it? But for me, it's the most wonderful thing ever, because I can make sure that, she gets all the nutrients. She has all her immunity shots. She has all of her medications without her spitting it out. It's never a struggle. So actually family dinners have become so much nicer because feeding her orally was really traumatic for her. So now with the gastrostomy, it's just a nicer way of doing things for her.
So and she's getting all the stuff that's good
everything.
For her.
So I work really closely with her dietitian, and every 3 months she has a set of nutritional bloods, and then we sort of gauge from that what she needs, what she doesn't, and then based on that I'll prepare her food, and then she has her vitamins and her minerals, and so it's a really nice way where I can control what she has, because she's non-mobile. So like you and I, if we go and have something naughty to eat, we can go and burn it off. She can't do that. So we need to be really careful with what we give her. So her feeding and her medication and her nutrition is a huge part of our day.
Right. So you do that through the peg feeding?
Yes.
Okay. And so give her breakfast and then she goes off to school. So is there like her school as well? Like what kind of a school is it? Is it a school that is equipped to deal with all her needs? Like are there other children like her at the school?
Yeah. All the children are with disabilities, special needs. Mm-hmm. It is a special needs school, Addington School. It is the best. It is amazing. They have medical professionals in there. Everybody is highly trained. She has about 5 or 6 people in her class, so it's almost 1-to-1. They're all gastrostomy trained. I'll make her lunch from home and send it in. We communicate via email. I'll tell them what she's had for lunch, or we'll speak at the door. But the school is brilliant. Yeah, she's got a hydro pool in there, so she goes swimming every Thursday. She does PE, she does music. She flirts with her music teachers and her PE teacher. She's a big flirt, Amber. But it's brilliant. It's lovely. And they do things based on what they can do.
Right.
You know, so a lot of her school day is around stretching and, movement. And I mean, they have things like science, but they'll turn it into a sensory experience for them. But it is lovely.
It sounds wonderful. It
is
really
really
does.
nice. And she's there until she's 19. So she's been there since she was 4.
Right.
And she's there till she's 19.
Okay. Right. So she goes to school. They come and pick her up, and then she.
No, I take her to school.
You take her.
Yeah.
You take her.
Yeah.
And then after school, so you do the school run. You go and pick her up, and then how is your afternoon and evening?
So
what do you do?
Once we've picked her up from school, the carers come in at 4 p.m. And they will help me give her a bath and a shower, do all of her personal care, which takes about an hour and a half. Once she's done her personal care, the carers will be, putting her clothes back on and getting her into a chair. And in between that time, I'll go and prepare her dinner. And then the carers will feed her, but sometimes I feed her too. But then in that time, I'll go and have a shower, sort myself out, have a little bit of time for myself. Because most of the time when Amber's at school, I'm working. And so there's very little time for me to then just do what I need to do.
That school day is quick.
It's so quick.
It's so quick.
I know. And then you get all these roadworks, you get stuck in traffic. I'm not home until 10 o'clock. And I'm like, right, I've only got 4.5 hours.
Listen, I am that person rushing to get my kid from school because it's always it goes quick and there's so much to do. So yeah, I get it.
So then I use that time for myself. And then, by the time you've cleaned the kitchen and by the time I've sanitized all of her equipment, her suction machine, she has a suction machine because she can't get rid of her secretions, and because she's prone to chest infections, we've got to make sure that we clear all of that ourselves. So by the time that's sanitized, her school bag is ready, her uniform's ironed for the following day. It then goes into story time, bedtime for her. She has a lovely sensory wind down evening, and then by about 8:30 she's asleep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I have my evenings to kind of just breathe.
Right. So the carers that come in, they come in twice a day, is it? Once a day?
No, they come in. So I have an overnight carer.
Right.
That starts at 10 p.m. in the evening and until 8:30 in the morning. So I have somebody looking after her during the night because Amber requires oxygen overnight. So she has to have eyes on her all the time. So luckily I get 7 nights and then I get hours during the day as well from 4 to 8 in the evening.
Let's talk about this care team then. Have you kind of, like, how has this been put together? Like, is this a private thing? Is it the NHS? How have you created this level of support for yourself, for your daughter?
This subject for me is really bittersweet because even though I'm so grateful for the NHS and the UK for the level of support that they give families with, that have, or caregivers that have children with special needs or even adults, I'm so grateful because there are loads of countries that don't offer that.
Yeah.
A lot of them are left,
True.
on their own. But on the other hand, you have to be in a really bad state to get this care. Whilst I was married, I think we were getting 4 hours a month. 4 hours a month, which would be an hour every Saturday for respite.
I mean, that's a lot then in the week. So you were both doing that though? You and your husband were both doing everything, the feeding and the night care.
It was mainly me because he was out working. And we had that agreement between ourselves. I was happy to be at home, looking after Amber, running all of her appointments, because being a medical mummy is a full-time job. It's not just feeding and suctioning, it's ordering all of the equipment. She's incontinent. I need to make sure that those pads come in on time. All of the feeding equipment needs to come in on time. She's on about 9 or 10 different medications which need to be collected from the hospital or the doctor's surgery. So you need to make sure all of that stuff is replenished all the time. So it's a full-time job. So he was always going to go out to work. I was always going to look after Amber. But to have that 1 hour every week, it was not enough.
No.
It wasn't enough at all. So when he left, her occupational therapist found out that obviously her father had left the house. I was now on my own. And legally, they couldn't leave Amber with me on my own because Amber is double-handed support. And that does come down to Woking Borough Council because they need to make sure that Amber's safety is paramount. So I had to almost be a single mother with a child that almost passed away, with not much income coming in for them to put the support in. It's taken me 5 years to get to where I am now because we only really started off with 3 hours a day with no nights.
So this is all the NHS is providing you with this care, but it's when you got to a breaking point, basically.
Yeah, I was at breaking point. I couldn't cope. I couldn't manage. And for the first time since having Amber, I had to say, I can't do this. I cannot do this anymore. I didn't want to get out of bed. When her dad left, I was in complete shock that this had happened because there were other parts to things that I found out. And it was as if I'd lived a lie for the last sort of 5 years of our marriage. So I was trying to be the best parent for Amber while my heart was breaking. One of the hardest roles I'd ever had to play. And that was the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I couldn't get out of my bed. I didn't want it anymore. I was having horrible thoughts. And I couldn't believe that it was me that was saying, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And then when I started reaching out and saying, look, you need to help me because if you don't help me, this child is really going to suffer. I need your help. But it still took 5 years to get to where we are now. You know, she had to have had, and in 5 years, Amber's had 2 major life-changing operations. She's had a double hip replacement and she's had a full spinal fusion, which took 10 hours.
These are huge operations.
Massive.
Huge operations.
Massive operations.
Why did she have to have those operations?
So because her spine, the curve in her spine was becoming so bad, it was squeezing her left lung, which meant her oxygen levels were low. She was getting regular chest infections, and if we hadn't have intervened when we did, she might not have been here today. So that's why we had to make the decision to do that very quickly. And so there are two types of care that you get in England. One care package comes from the NHS, which is the health part of things. And then the other part, so I'm talking about the funding. One set of funding will come from health. One set of funding comes from the Woking Borough Council, which is the social element. So we had to bring both together to assess Amber's needs. They went through a 50-page document with me, which took about 3.5, 4 hours, until, you know, they were like, actually, this is a very medically vulnerable child. We have a mum here who's trying to keep a roof over her head. This woman needs our support. But it was fight after fight, panel after panel, to get to where we are. And this is the thing, like, advocating for your child to the degree that I've had to advocate for her is exhausting in itself. And to be able to then look after yourself is actually really difficult. But there is always a way.
You have a really amazing mindset, you know, just from this much conversation so far. I can tell that. But what do you do in terms of your self-care? Like, who do you speak to about this and having those sometimes dark thoughts? You know, we're all human, right? It's hard. Where do you get that support? How do you kind of schedule in a little bit of self-care throughout this whole routine?
So recently I took myself on holiday. First time in 15 years that I've gone long haul without Amber. With my partner, and I did it because I felt like I needed it. My cup was empty. I needed to do that for myself. Really hard decision to make, but I did it. But in terms of talking to people, I've never really had any counselling. I've never really gone out and spoken about things. But the one thing I did start doing was writing. I started writing, and I started on my phone, in my notes. I was feeling a certain type of way, right? I started writing, and then I got myself a journal. And I started journaling. And every morning I would write down 3 things that I was grateful for, and not really focusing on things I wasn't grateful for, because actually I'm not interested. I just want, even if the day is bad, I just need to pick out 3 things that were good in that day and I can focus on it. And actually I've really worked on myself. And I've really worked on my own mindset by listening to podcasts, by, writing things down, reading. So I think before I consider any type of counselling, I need to do the work myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also things that I enjoy doing, my makeup, my business, it's my hobby, going out there, making women feel beautiful from the outside, from the inside is something that brings me a lot of joy. And actually throughout my divorce, my work, my clients, and having that escape was something that really got me through it.
How do you think that being a mom to a daughter with special needs has changed you as a person?
Oh my God, it's changed me completely. I don't think I would be, actually, I know I wouldn't be the person or the woman that I am today if it wasn't for my child. Everything that I am, the strength, the courage that I've had to find, the resilience that I've had to build up is because of Amber. And it's because my love for her is so deep that I don't think there is anything that I would not do for her. And motherhood has stretched me in ways that I never thought it would. But it was in that stretch that those really beautiful moments of resilience and strength and courage, and I went from I can't do this to actually, yes, I can do it, has changed me. And it's taught me compassion. It's my relationship with God has got so much stronger because the one thing that I did not give up was my faith and my hope. And I would say I've got this picture of our gods in my house, and I would look at it and I'd be like, you brought me to this, you now need to get me through it. And every time I got through it, I was like, yeah, that was you, and it was just my faith got stronger. And so yeah, that it has changed me.
How do you create moments of joy with you and your daughter?
Oh gosh, it can be from the littlest of things. Tesco shop. She loves a Tesco shop.
Does she?
She loves it, and we make a meal out of it. Right, we're going Tesco shopping today. What outfit are you wearing? What do you want to buy? Have you made your shopping list? All these little things, they matter to her. But for me, the hard thing for me has been, I come from a really big family and everyone's got loads of children, and they're the 13, 14, 15-year-olds that are doing things that Amber will never be able to do. And that's really heartbreaking. And it's really hard for me to sit at a family function and watch these children do it while Amber is stuck in a wheelchair, wanting to go there, but she can't. So how I create moments of joy is pushing the boundaries. We've travelled a lot. Last year I took her to Milan.
Wow, okay.
The year before that I took her to Austria Christmas markets, the Vienna Christmas markets. I've taken her to Dubai. She's been to Kenya, Paris, Turkey. The one thing that we can do is travel. And that's where my travel business was born as well. Because I was like, right, I want to travel with her. I want to show her different parts of the world. I want to take her to Italy. I want to do certain things. And that's what I did. I pushed the boundaries. Even when I was told, Pav, this can be risky, I was like, I don't care. We're gonna get it done. We took a care team with us. I took all of her medical equipment with us. The airlines were on board. The hotels knew she was coming. I had a hoist in the room for her. Everything was prepared. And those are the parts where I really do create joy between us, because we have made some incredible memories.
That's so amazing. That is so amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, if people have listened to our conversation up to this point, where you have all this in place at your house, carers that come in, somebody who's there the whole night, you've talked about your daily routine and stuff, then how do you then take that to different places in the world on a plane? Like, how does that all work?
So things like her suction machine and the things that I can carry, we will carry. And airlines are really good because, you tell them that this is what you need to do. There's special assistants at the airport, so they'll help you. But the care team have also helped me at the other end, where we source a local company to install that hoist and a bed with side rails. And we have to pay for it, but it is done. And then the care agency will do a risk assessment on that to make sure everything is safe. And that's it.
And how does Amber feel about doing all these things? Like, how does she respond to being on a plane, to being in a different country, being in a different country, being at a German market and things like that?
She thrives. She thrives because we're taking her out of that environment where, everything is always a blood test or a suction, or, she's being repositioned, or she's having chest physio done. Amber, we're going on holiday and we're going to have a break, and we're going to go and see a Christmas market, and we're going to see Santa Claus, and I'm going to buy you presents, and we're going to have quality time together. She loves it. And she's a completely different person. And even the school have said that, the travels and quality time with family and taking her to different places has really, really improved the quality of her life. Because can you imagine just being bedridden and not having anybody to take you anywhere or have any experiences? Or I'm always the one saying, I want to do this with her, I want to do that with her. And people are like, are you sure? Are you sure? I'm like, yes. Inside, I'm really scared. But it doesn't stop me. I want to get these things because, look, I know time is limited with her.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about. Like, what does life look like for Amber? Like, what are your hopes for her? What is the reality of her condition?
So she had a 50% chance of making it to her 13th birthday. She is now 15. So every year for me is a bonus. And she has even more of a slimmer chance of making it to her 21st. They haven't given me an age where they'll be like, right, it's from 21, that's it. But her life is limited because of her ongoing health conditions. And I have witnessed a huge decline in the last few years. And for me, I just want to make sure that whatever life she does have left, it's of quality and she's happy.
Do you think that society truly understands what it is like to have a child with additional needs? Being a medical mummy, as you said.
Only the families that have a medical child or are looking after children with medical vulnerabilities. Otherwise, I don't think our society has a clue. Unless you are not living it 24/7, walking those shoes, having those difficult conversations with medical professionals, being told that actually there is a chance you're going to outlive your child, I don't think anyone will really ever understand the depth of that at all.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why it's so important that we're having this conversation.
Yeah. But then there are some people, and I really want to touch on this briefly because my life has changed considerably in the last 3 years, where my partner and his family have come into my life and accepted Amber and I for who we are. To the point, his parents are in their 70s. And I really want to say this because I feel like where we say, oh, there hasn't been a generational shift, actually in some places I think there has. His parents are 70. And if you think about our culture, people are very much like, oh, she's divorced and she's got a child with another man. But actually this child is medically vulnerable. They would be telling their son, are you sure? Because your future's looking very bleak here. His parents have encouraged it. They've shown us an unconditional amount of love to the point where his mum and dad are like, what alterations do we need to make to our house to make Amber feel comfortable?
That is so sweet.
And to find love at this stage of my life that not only accepted me, but accepted Amber for who she is, what she is, and has supported me on the levels that he is supporting me. I never thought it was possible. But there is hope, and these things do happen, and there are good people out there. And if there is anybody that's watching this or is struggling with their own things or have gone through something similar, then, I want to be an example and proof that actually life can be good. Disability doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to end your life. Actually, it can be one of the most beautiful things that's ever happened to you. And Amber and everything that I've gone through is actually I'm so happy. I'm so grateful that I went through that, because I don't think I could sit here and talk to you about what we've spoken about. There could be somebody that could take something away from this and it could really help change their lives. And I hope it does. Because 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, there wasn't anybody to talk about these. There was hardly anybody. Even when I was researching to have reach out to someone, it was difficult. Now when I share something on social media, my inbox is flooded. We're going through the same thing. How do you navigate this? How do you navigate that? You know, and it takes people talking about it to spark something, and it does help.
And I guess that's why you've chosen to share your journey. You know, you share pictures of Amber, the things that you do. You have a blog as well.
Yeah.
Is it because you felt quite isolated at some points?
I felt isolated, and writing for me was really expressive, and it took a lot off my shoulders. I was able to just put my feelings, my thoughts down. And then when people started reading it and sending me messages saying, I've really resonated with this is amazing, this has helped me, or I did this, or I've taken this, it was a sense of release. And you know what, in some shape it was my therapy. It was actually my therapy.
Yeah, I could see how it would be. It's been so nice talking to you, Pav. I really appreciate you coming here and sharing so much about you and your daughter and your lives. The last thing I want to ask you is that, you know, if people are watching and people out there come across somebody, a child like Amber, who has a lot of special needs, you know, medical conditions, is nonverbal, and a mum like yourself, a carer, often doing it alone, what would you want them to know?
I want them to know that what they see is not what defines that person. I want them to encourage inclusivity, because a lot of the time it isn't. They just looked at and looked away, oh, it's another person in a wheelchair. But I would love for people to just stop and think, actually, rather than them stepping into our world, why can't we step into their world and just try and see what it's like from their point, and how we can do something in their world? And I think that would be my main thing, is I would want them to think about how inclusive they could make it for that person in a wheelchair, or anyone with additional needs, or someone that's walking and non-verbal. How can you make life easier for them?
And are there any places that people could go to support if somebody's out there, they're feeling isolated, they're coping with their child having a disability or additional needs? Do you know anywhere that they could get support and advice?
The first place of call, and I know some councils are not very good, is get a social worker. Because, and I can only talk from my experience, I've never actually branched out and gone to certain bodies or anything like that. But also the other thing that's really helped me are local hospices. Alexander Divine Children's Hospice was a hospice that came on board when Amber was almost end of life. And they then guided me to certain bodies or certain people that actually really helped. And I think that the community within a hospice is so beautiful, because you're almost putting yourself into a world that understands you. You're not going to somebody that's spoken to 50 million other people about so many other things. It's very specific, and that really helps.
Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Pav.
Thank you for having me. It's been really nice to talk about it.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have taken something from this conversation. I really enjoyed finding out more about Pav and her daughter Amber. Please do show this podcast some love, like and share it as well. Until the next one, take care. Bye.